Welcome. As Chair of G21, I would like to welcome G21 members and guests to our AGM of 2021. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we gather today, the Wadawurrung people. The Wadawurrung people are members of the Kulin Nation, and on behalf of everyone here today, I would like to pay our respects to all elders, past, present and emerging. In terms of apologies, they will be noted in the minutes today. I'd like to make some acknowledgements. Firstly, to Tracey Slatter, who is our keynote speaker today. Tracey is the Managing Director of Barwon Water. Deputy Chair of G21, Kian Selway, the Chief Operating Officer of Deakin University. Giulia Baggio, G21 CEO from the Geelong Regional Alliance. City of Greater Geelong, Martin Cutter, CEO. Borough of Queenscliff, Martin Gill, CEO and Mayor Ross Ebbels. Colac Otway Shire, CEO Anne Howard and Mayor Kate Hanson. Congratulations, Kate. She was re-voted in last night. Golden Plains Shire CEO Eric Brazlis, Mayor Helena Kirby, Surf Coast Shire CEO Robin Seymour and Mayor Libby Stapleton, and G21 Board elected directors Brett Winter, CEO of Geelong Port, Rowena Clift, CEO of the Primary Health Network, the PHN, I know it as, and Keith Bailey, the CEO of GeForce Employment Solutions, and of course Tracey Slatter as well. I'd also like to acknowledge Ms Kim Pearl, who's representing the Honourable Gail Tierney, MLA for Western Victoria. Our first item tonight is the confirmation of the Annual General Meeting minutes of the 12th of November 2020. Members and directors have been advised of the availability of the 2020 AGM minutes on www.g21.com.au/AGM in the invitation which was distributed. So if you haven't already connected there, you can do so now. The vote to accept the minutes will be conducted via an online poll. Only those registered members of G21 are able to vote during the poll. So the resolution 1 is that the members accept the minutes for the AGM of the 12th of November 2020, and it will be moved by Martin Cutter and seconded by Eric Brazlis. So the poll will be launched on your screens and I invite members to vote now. If there are questions or comments on the minutes, please use the chat function and we will endeavour to answer. I will be given the signal from the tech team once we have the numbers. So I'm hoping everybody's pressing their voting buttons now. I can't see anything on the screen, so I'm just trusting that that's happening. We have the thumbs up from the tech team, thank you. The motion is carried. I would like to now hand over to the G21 Audit and Risk Committee Chair, Martin Cutter, who will give an overview of the audited financial report. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Chair. As Chair of the G21 Audit and Risk Committee, I'm pleased to present to the G21 AGM the G21 audited financial statements. The statements have been considered at the G21 Audit and Risk Committee and then tabled and approved at the G21 Board meeting. The financial statements have been issued with a clear audit report. The entity recorded a surplus for the year of $123,112, significantly up on prior year, and this is primarily driven by a favourable timely receipt of funds from the Ciro Villa for the G21 Region Social and Affordable Housing Project. Expenses were consistent with the prior year, with no material movements. I'm certain the G21 CEO will give you a thorough summation of the year's operations as we progress through the AGM today. We look forward to the coming year with challenges that changes will take place in the PCP funding that will present, but I'm sure with the implementation of effective mitigation strategies, we'll be in a position to enable us to address these matters. I'd like to give thanks to the Board and the G21 team for their excellent work throughout this transition year. I'll now put to the meeting, are there any questions in relation to the audited financial report for the year ended 30th of June 2021? I think the members are to use their chat function, so we'll give a little bit of time and elevator music for that to come through. I'm not aware of any questions that have come through. So now we might move on to vote to accept the audited financial statements that will be conducted via online poll. So only registered members of G21 may vote during the poll. The poll will be launched on your screens, and I invite the members to vote now. All right, on that note, I will now hand across back to our chair. Thank you very much.
Now, I haven't had a thumbs up, but I understand that the members, the resolution is that the members accept the audited financial report for the year ended 30 June 2021 to be moved by Brett Winter and seconded by Eric Braslis, and I understand I will probably get a thumbs up from the poll result. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is carried. Okay, thank you. Just wanted to confirm that. Okay, so item 5 is the announcement of the G21 elected directors, and pursuant to clause 10.3 of the G21 Geelong Region Alliance Constitution, as there were only 3 candidates for the 3 two-year vacancies in the office of elected director, no ballot is to be held, and accordingly the following have been elected as directors of G21. 1 is Brett Winter, the CEO of Geelong Port. 2 is Melissa Stevens, the General Manager of Organisational Performance at Barwon Water. And 3 is Rowena Clift, the CEO of the Primary Healthcare Network. And as Chair of the G21 Board, I declare those candidates duly elected. And congratulations to Brett, Melissa and Rowena on their election as Directors of the G21 Geelong Region Alliance Board. Particular congratulations to Melissa, who's a first-timer, so that's very good. Item 6 is the milestones in the year in review, and I'd now like to introduce Giulia Baggio, our new CEO of G21, who will take us through the milestones of 2021. Thank you, Giulia.
Thank you, Chair. Let's begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on whose lands we meet tonight, the Wadawurrung and Eastern Maar people. We pay our deep respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. A year ago, we were looking forward to 2021. We thought we'd finished with COVID and our world would be bouncing back to a new normal. Little did we know our lives would be turned upside down once again. After the summer break, I took up the role of CEO in February, and with our new chair, Stephanie Asher, took a moment to look back at the achievements of this organisation. With the passage of nearly 20 years, we see a remarkable story of partnership. The coming together of community, business and local government to develop regional strategies and projects has created in itself a rare and valuable asset, and that is a culture of sustained collaboration. Collaboration is not easy. It can be very messy, it takes quite a bit of patience, but it is something we now do exceptionally well. Through this effort, G21 has now become one of Australia's most livable regions. We're attracting deep investment and driving a major social and economic transformation. From this very strong foundation, we now launch ourselves into the next 20 years. Our task is to shape this extraordinary rate of population growth, among the fastest in Australia at 2.6% per annum, and that's been happening for 5 years in a row, a rate that no one could have predicted. The pandemic has turbocharged this trend with the arrival of thousands of people over the last 18 months. Growing well, rather than just growing, will determine our future livability. COVID lockdowns have revealed inequities and weaknesses. Social disconnection, a disproportionate workload which has landed on the shoulders of women in particular as families juggled work and homeschooling, unaffordable housing, labour shortages and patchy digital coverage which continues to dog our schools and businesses. Adversity at the very least brings clarity. So we must continue to work with purpose, energy and vision to keep improving living standards in every one of our communities. Our partnership with Victorian and Commonwealth governments will be more important than ever as we manage our recovery and this remarkable period of growth. In April and May this year, our board and pillar leaders took the first steps towards mapping a refreshed direction for the years ahead. We identified new areas of opportunity and emerging roadblocks, and we reviewed our long-term goals in order to inform our short-term priorities. After many months of consultation and discussion, we have developed an updated collection of priority projects. Some carry over from previous years and others are new, and I'm going to touch on just a few of the major themes that emerged. First and foremost, G21's growth areas. Community infrastructure such as schools, libraries, sporting facilities, these are needed as soon as possible, especially in hotspots like Armstrong Creek and Bannockburn, which are growing at a phenomenal pace. Transport. It goes hand in hand with high quality livability, enabling commerce, social connection and education to flourish. But G21 is outgrowing its transport network. We are calling for new and more frequent rail connections, ferry and bus connections, a network of connected active trails that allow people to commute by bicycle, scooter, by foot or even horseback. All of these modes are needed to reduce road congestion and reliance on cars. That said, we are also calling for major upgrades of our roads to better connect our towns and villages and improve the intra-regional flow of traffic. Our big strategic assets, Geelong Port and Avalon Airport, are expanding and need to be ready with connecting roads that are fit for purpose and rail to receive growing numbers of visitors and freight, especially with the Spirit of Tasmania arriving to make its home at Geelong Port next year. Both assets are major gateways to our region and important to our recovery, as well as Victoria's competitiveness with other states. Housing. A shortage of social housing, affordable housing and key worker housing has reached crisis point. Apollo Bay and other coastal towns either have no housing or it's so expensive they can't attract essential workers. Colac's housing shortage has been so acute, workers have been bussed in to fill local jobs. This labour shortage is a handbrake on prosperity, and it's frustrating for our businesses as they get back on their feet after 2 rugged years. We're calling on state and federal governments to work more urgently with us on the short and long-term solutions. Digital connectivity remains a problem. It's a fundamental part of daily life, whether you're a business, a student, a parent, or someone experiencing disadvantage. Progress is being made with upgrades and new rollouts, but again, rapid population growth is outstripping it and putting pressure on a network that lags well behind metropolitan standards. Our digital skills have also fallen behind, and programs are needed fairly urgently to upskill our communities. Kickstarting tourism and our cultural sector is a priority as we move into summer. High on our list is the continuing delivery of the City deal, especially the Convention Centre, and may 2022 be a year of cranes in the sky as this build gets underway. The expansion of the Geelong Gallery, a new Australian National Surfing Museum at Torquay, harbour redevelopments, adventure and bike trails are all excellent funding opportunities which will add value and excitement to our tourism and hospitality offering. 2 new priorities have emerged from our consultations in 2021. We now have several First Nations projects. These are cultural tourism initiatives around the Yuyangs, Breakwater and Barwon River parklands, which aim to protect and enhance these important cultural sites. G21 is committed to working more closely with our First Nations organisations to better acknowledge, understand and embrace the region's 60,000-year-old history. We've also introduced a stronger focus on sustainability as a priority. This encompasses support for clean energy and clean tech investment, commercial waste and recycling opportunities, multi-agency water management, and emissions reductions through a range of measures, including electric vehicle charging stations, renewable energy purchase agreements by councils and businesses, energy efficiency and more solar rooftops for homes and buildings. Our region can be a leader here. Just today, Geelong Port became the first port in Australia to achieve certified carbon neutrality. Well done to Brett Winter and his team. All of this, of course, is just a snapshot. You can find the full priority projects document on the G21 website, and a link will be sent to you after the AGM as well. Last month, our new priorities had their first outing when our mayors met with federal ministers and shadow ministers for our annual Canberra delegation. All MPs shared our concern about housing and labour shortages, and most were surprised to learn how fast our region is expanding. I should note that the Chair and I have also held briefings with state MPs throughout the year. G21 will have plenty more to say in 2022, a year that will be topped and tailed by federal and state elections. It's a bit like a blue moon or Halley's Comet. It doesn't come around very often, and we will be making the most of it. In other major news for G21, we received a generous grant from Regional Development Victoria to develop an integrated transport strategy for the region, a project conceived by our transport pillar. Our social housing project, which started in 2020, has gone from strength to strength, with our host organisation, Syra Villa, attracting a funding boost from our philanthropic partners, the Percy Baxter Trust, Geelong Community Foundation and the Anthony Costa Foundation. This will carry our work into 2022, with the project to include affordable and key worker housing. We thank our partners profoundly. This is important work and we could not do this without you. We also worked with other local organisations to develop a creative industry strategy, which will be released soon, as well as a report called Growing Up in G21, which measures the wellbeing of children in the region from the ages of 0 to 8. That will be launched soon as well. G21's annual stakeholder forum fell victim to the snap lockdown in August. Despite the disappointment, our stellar lineup of speakers will return in April 2022 for a bigger and better event, face-to-face, fingers crossed.